Welcome to the Lawtino Podcast, where we amplify the voices of Latino professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders coming together to educate, inspire, and connect across one of the most dynamic binational regions in the world. Bicultural, premium, powerful.
Hey, it's Sean Gómez. Welcome to this episode of the Lawtino, where we discuss the intersection of law and our Latino communities. We have with us lawyers, judges, elected officials, community and thought leaders, and we have great conversations about who they are, where they come from, what makes them go, and also issues, that are affecting our communities. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, David Arreguín, who is a trial attorney with us here at Gómez Trial Attorneys, originally a guest, now in charge of our Mexico, California, U.S. corridor and our practice along the border, serving our binational clients and communities. Welcome, David. Always a great treat to be with you.
Thank you, John. It's always my pleasure, and it's an honor to be here, of course.
Yes. This episode, as always, is brought to you by our perennial sponsor, Gómez Trial Attorneys. Gómez Trial Attorneys is a national consumer rights law firm. We represent victims of personal injury, employment wrongs, civil rights violations, dangerous and defective products. And we do it, we say we are binational, binacional, bicultural, bicultural, and best in class. So we, again, serve our clients on both sides of the border in the English and Spanish languages and at the very highest levels of legal excellence. And so, David, why don't you, as we do, introduce our guest for today. We're honored with a very special guest and a good friend of ours.
Yeah, no, of course. It's an honor to have Mr. Joe Garcia here today, who I recently met at a Paco Pablo's exhibition up in Escondido. We'll get to hear a little bit about that and his involvement with the arts, the binational arts, I want to say. And then after like a week, I actually met him at Univision. So that was a nice surprise, which led to this today. So, Joe, welcome. We want to hear from you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, your ties to the community?
Wonderful. Well, thank you. It's been awesome to be able to get to know you. And it's true, it was such a wonderful surprise when we were at Univision, had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and comb my hair. Oh, no, hold on. My hair's gone. But you had to wash my face, get up, and then to see you walk in all of a sudden, that was a treat to be able to reconnect. Thank you for the invitation. Well, I'm a native Californian, third generation born here in California. And it's been such a joy to be able to be involved in the community. I've been a church pastor full-time for 35 years. That's my calling, my vocation, and my full-time job. And for the last 6 years, since 2020, I've had the honor to be elected to the city council in the city of Escondido. I grew up here at the border. I was born in Santa Ana. We had a tragic accident. Parents sold a home. We moved to Tijuana. Had never lived in Mexico. My mother had not lived in Mexico. I didn't speak any language. I didn't speak any Spanish at all. So I went from third grade to first grade. So immediately just to kind of pick up the language. And 9 years I lived there, and it became an incredible blessing because I pastor Spanish-speaking churches. So every weekend I get to preach in Spanish. I visit in Spanish. I chat in Spanish. So that's a little bit about me, where I come from, father of 3 wonderful children. And they've done very well for themselves. They've done many, many things, Ivy Leaguers, and have worked in the White House. I've done all kinds of things, and I'm very honored to call myself their father. I've remarried since then. I lost my wife to cancer almost 9 years ago. I was alone for many, many years, and then remarried a wonderful lady. And through that family now have a whole number of children too. So I'm raising again. So that's about me, where I come from, what I do, what has impacted my life. I'm sure as we chat, that'll begin to come out in a more organic fashion.
Well, tell us about, thank you for that introduction. That's quite a story. Some of our viewers, or I guess our viewers and our listeners, are maybe not from San Diego. We have a kind of a national following, international also. But tell us about Escondido, because not everybody knows about this place, who lives there, what it's all about. It's, to me, like growing up here, like Escondido is like a cool place because it's got so many different little pockets of people and things going on. So tell us about Escondido.
Well, Escondido is a great place. It's the fourth largest city in San Diego County. We have about 152,000 population. Out of the population, 52% are Latino or Latino descent, with a very large percentage of that of monolingual. Just in general, Escondido is a word in Spanish which means hidden. And Escondido is beginning now to people to discover Escondido's potential, I think, because we're stopping from being hidden in that valley. It's right on the corridor of 15 and 78. So for economic development, it's great. And it just has so many things. We're going through changes right now, working on downtown. Now people are beginning to come and say, oh, wow, we didn't know that you had such a beautiful downtown, walkable restaurants, a lot of fun, a lot of attractions going on there. We have our mall, we have our Center for the Arts, which is a big deal here in North County. They've been working very hard to make that the epicenter of arts, Latino arts, binational, international. We'll talk about that a little later. So that's a little bit about Escondido.
So I guess at this point, it's a hidden gem. Would you call it like that, right?
Yes.
Escondido. Joya escondida. So I think it's great, because Escondido, a lot of people know it also for like all the wineries out there, which it seems to be attracting a lot of the population from San Diego, which is closer than Temecula. I went to this Orphelia winery, which attracts a big population as well. Beautiful mountains. Is that like a big part of the tourism now, like the wineries and all these touristic places?
Yeah, it is. In fact, I was in Washington, D.C. last week for the National League of Cities. And as you get to know people, you meet people, you're chatting in the mixers. I was chatting with somebody who said, oh, I've gone to the wineries in Temecula, which is just down the road. And I said, oh, well, that's great. We have plenty of wineries in Escondido. Said, oh, that's great. I'm going to go next because I didn't like the ones in Temecula, is what she said. And Orphelia was one of the first ones that came to mind. And not only that, we have craft beer also. That's a big deal in Escondido. Some of these places attract so much clientele. Now, I don't drink, all right? So I can't give you any personal experiences on that. But certainly what I hear is that there is the best to be found in Escondido.
You said you gave a figure. I think you said like it was more than 50%. More than 50% of your population is Latino. And you said many of them only speak Spanish.
Or monolingual, yes.
Yeah. And I remember last time we visited, there's a particular state in Mexico where a lot of these folks come from. Talk to us about that and kind of how, your constituents can trace their legacy back to a particular part of Mexico.
Well, and I'll do that through an example of one of our binational events that we have done. A number of years ago, I took it upon myself to begin to research sister cities. And I brought that a policy to the full council and they approved it. And we chose 3 cities in Mexico to have sister cities. 2 of them in Oaxaca, 1 of them in Mexico City. And part of the policy requires that there be a group of people, and this is where this ties into Escondido. And a lot of our constituents are from Oaxaca. So that was first, I discovered that. That was really nice to be able to discover that. But then we talked about specifically the two cities in Oaxaca, San Jacinto de Amilpas and Cimatlán de Álvarez. Come to find out that people actually in Escondido were from there.
Wow.
So when we celebrate El Grito in Escondido, we've been doing that now for a few years during Música en la Plaza, which is an event that the Center for the Arts puts together. And they give us a little time there, and then we have the whole grito. Well, this last year we had la senadora Karina Ruiz, la senadora migrante. She's from Oaxaca. She was came out and celebrated with us. One of the mayors of our sister city came out, San Jacinto de Milpas. El alcalde Alejandro Diaz came out too. And people felt connected because now all of a sudden they had someone in Escondido that they could talk to about what was going on back home.
Wow.
So that was awesome to be able to see that, to experience that, and just looking forward to have this event continue to grow.
So great connection, connecting people. And what would you say attracts them to Escondido? I mean, I can imagine that maybe family moved there, friends moved there, and they start hearing great things about Escondido. That's one of the reasons why they moved there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that. I moved to Escondido 26 years ago. And it's been, when I've had to leave for short periods of time, they've had to push me out. And I've made sure that I've come right back. Escondido, when it comes to Escondido, like I mentioned, it has easy access to the freeway to be able to get to places if you work outside of town. There's a lot of investment going on in Escondido, so people are beginning to find better paying jobs in Escondido. One of the largest industries in Escondido is medical. It's the hospital. Palomar Hospital is the largest hospital district in the state of California, and they're our number one employer in the city itself. But there's a lot of creativity going on. There's a lot of art going on, a lot of murals. These beautiful murals that you have here, you can find sister murals, I'll call them that, in Escondido. We have a lot of that, which attracts to our community. We have great parks in our community. So there's a lot of Escondido's at that size that you can still feel the community, the family, the connection. When you go to the park, there's people you walk by and you say hi. Not that big where you just kind of lose connection and everybody's onto their own. So Escondido's still there. I remember a number of years ago when everything was shut down around 5 p.m. It was still that home, small town mentality. It's grown from there. Now you can find fast food open later. The good, healthy stuff. But that's a little bit about Escondido. Specifically prices, Escondido prices for homes are about the lowest in the entire county. And you still have, you're well connected to Riverside County, which is just 20 minutes away. Orange County, probably about 30 minutes away. So Escondido is just a nice central place. It's attractive. It has a lot of things going on, and it's great for families.
So what are the issues? You've been part of leadership in the city for a while now. We see all this development, all this cool stuff going on. What are the challenges of, a city leader in Escondido now, or what are the challenges that the city is facing or dealing with now?
Escondido has, for many, many years, been famous, unfortunately, for taking a long time for developers to be able to get their permits and to be able to get into and complete their projects. So we hired a new city manager a few years back, and there's been a culture change going on in the city. We've been cross-training our people. We've been pulling contracts from having outside organizations deal with issues on development, permits or inspections. And we've been discovering that sometimes they assign different inspectors, and different inspectors have different requirements. They all may have one set of rules, but, you need to move this. But a different inspector might say, no, you don't have, no, you really don't have to do that. I want you to do this. And we discovered that things like that have been dragging on our permitting process. So we brought in not only the new city manager, but he's brought in a series of other leaders. We brought different departments together to streamline, to make this much more efficient. And we're beginning to see those efforts pay off. So economically, that's one of the challenges that we continue to have. There's always the issues that the city that cities face when it comes to infrastructure. I'm happy to say I was in DC last week, and part of my responsibility was to speak to our Congress members, our senators, and ask them to fulfill requests that we had put in. And a number of years ago, we were approved for $34 million for infrastructure to help with flooding and things like that. And that comes in chunks. So we went to ask for $3 million to make that difference, because obviously when it rains and it's excessive, that impairs and makes dangerous the roads. So that's another challenge, but we're working on that. We've had great success. And well, there's always community challenges to bring the community together, questions, things like that. And right now, the hot topic everybody's talking about is immigration, ICE. And Escondido, unfortunately, has had the research is showing us that they're among the top, if not number one, when it comes for deportations. So that is a hot topic that has developed over the years here in Escondido. And we got to the point where we discovered, city council, we were unaware that our police department had a contract with HSI for their agents to train in our firing range. When we became aware of that obviously became a very hot topic, hot discussion, and it was put for a presentation before city council. Well, that happened, and there was a lot of community members and a lot of more people from outside of the community expressing their feelings about that. One of our colleagues made a motion to rescind the contract, to cancel the contract. It failed because of a lack of a second. So people are unhappy. For me personally, I didn't second the motion simply because I believe that if we would have canceled that contract, Escondido would have been in a much, much tougher place with more and more presence of ICE. And it would have become, like I said publicly, it would have become a mini Minneapolis. And I was concerned about that. And I didn't want to participate to help that happen in Escondido. So it's been a tough one. People are unhappy. People are angry, and rightly so. Families are being affected. Latino families, most of us, a lot of us are mixed families, or we know someone. And as a church pastor, I sit with church members that have a brother, a sister, a son or a daughter that has been deported. And I sit there with them, and we cry together, and we console. One of the experiences that my community was they were, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say they had no idea that I had experience in my own self. I had experienced immigration issues over the years. Immigration officers have put handcuffs on me. I'm coming from church, and now they're walking with my Bible in their hand as they're walking me from one place to another, handcuffed. So I've been detained at immigration checkpoints. I've experienced that, and that's hurtful and difficult. That all was, it's part of my life, but I can't decide. I can't make a decision solely based on that. I have to do what I truly believe is the best for my city, to try to keep it as peaceful as possible. But that is a tough one that's going on right now.
And so let me see if maybe not all of our listeners kind of caught what you said, but basically, you have your own police department out there, Escondido Police, and they have a firing range,
Yes,
and they have a very nice firing range. Is it outdoor, indoor?
it's outdoor.
Outdoor, yeah. And so, as part of one of the agencies that contracts with Escondido PD to use their firing range is Homeland Security, which would, under its umbrella, encompass ICE. Is that right?
That is correct. And you know what? Thank you for making that clarification. As this the information was developing and the chief was working with the personnel on the signing of the contract and all that, it came to us that the specific agents that would be training in Escondido were not going to be immigration information enforcement officers. There were going to be agents dealing with child exploitation, other drugs, trafficking, human trafficking, other things like that. Those were the departments within the umbrella department that were going to be training in Escondido. Sad to me was that when we did have public comment, people came and spoke, and there was some saying that because of this, Escondido was going to have 200 officers, 400 plus the 200 that were already there. So now we're looking at 400. We had other people saying that 20% of Escondido would be deported. That's 30,000 people. And of course, that is not the case. And that concerned me. And I brought that publicly, that scared our community. And why would that want to be done? So yeah, in Escondido, the training would happen with agents that are not there to be enforcing any immigration laws.
So these would be non-immigration enforcement officers, but to work for the Department of Homeland Security. And so the idea that this would bring more enforcement activities or officers to the city based on what you saw, and you have some experience working with law enforcement over the years, that just wasn't going to be the case. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and
These are good guy federal agents.
Well, I spoke to many federal agents, retired, active. I spoke to federal prosecutors. I spoke to Border Patrol lawyers that actually work for Border Patrol. I spoke to the Latino community, both documented and undocumented, just casual conversations. And I would explain my reasoning and why I was concerned. And undoubtedly, I would get a resounding, you know what, Joe, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, I think you're right. That will happen if the contract is canceled. But I did sit down with a couple of people that completely disagree with me. And we sat for about an hour and a half. We didn't come to an agreement, but I think we ended with a respectful tone. They said, well, Joe, we hope that you're right, that Escondido doesn't become any worse. And I said, you know, with all respect, I hope you're wrong, that what you believe is going to happen, it doesn't happen in our community. But they did say, Joe, did you speak to anyone in Minneapolis? You mentioned Minneapolis. And I said, no, I haven't. And they said, Joe, we challenge you. We asked you. And I gave them my word. I said, I will speak out. And I've now made contact with a council member in a neighboring city, like in Escondido, San Marcos, a neighboring city, who's going to help me get in touch to be able to talk with them how this came about, what happened, and the challenges. Because I gave my word. I'm going to look into it as best as I can. And that's what we're doing.
And you know, I know we were talking a little bit also off mic. You know, it was your concern that, you know, this very public issue, namely the contract between DHS and Escondido, if the city of Escondido as a government, you know, issued this very public decision canceling the contract, you were worried that would be the thing that would make ICE presence worse or more. There might be some reason then to single out Escondido and say, hey, don't mess with us. We're going to send our guys in. You're going to see what happens when you cross us.
And my idea was always my concern, and what I wanted is to make sure that we didn't put ourselves in that place. We just didn't want to do that. And it's a tough one. It's really hard because no matter what direction you head in, somebody's going to be unhappy. And they've shown me that they're very unhappy. But anybody that would give me time, actually with these people, these community members that I was walking out of a Escondido PD Awards ceremony, and I was about a half a block away when somebody came out of their business to let me know that they disagreed with what I had said, and they had some choice words to describe me. So I came right back, and they invited me to sit down, and they invited me for a drink. I don't drink, but I accepted water, and we ended up chatting for about an hour and a half, and I think it was a healthy dialogue. And so that's something that I think we all should do.
To be sure. Yeah, I don't think we do it enough. You know, we get so into, you know, our thought of how the world is, and then we attach that to every issue that comes before us. And then if someone disagrees with us on an issue, we think they must be a bad person or they're just wrong. And it sounds like, you know, the people that have issue with you and your failure to second that motion are really looking for the same thing. And that is, you know, safety and security and way of life for all Escondido residents, to include maybe those that are might be subject to these enforcement actions.
Yeah, like Joe said, that healthy dialogue, right? We, you know, as civil attorneys, personal injury attorneys, we consistently disagree with what defense counsel says. However, sometimes for, you know, the best interest of our client, we got to have that healthy dialogue. And, you know, when that healthy dialogue doesn't happen, things don't really flow. So just the fact that you mentioned healthy dialogue, that means that, you know, things are happening.
Yeah, we sure, at least I'll speak for myself, want that healthy dialogue, because at least it gives us an opportunity to understand each other. We may disagree, but if we understand each other, we can see each other as humans rather than just somebody that I really dislike or I really hate because they don't see things the way I do. But ultimately, I think, at least for me, it was an issue that I really believe that it's helping Escondido to be a little safer. Is there presence? Yes. Is there a presence regularly? Some say on a daily basis. Yes, it happens. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to see an increase. And at this point, I haven't seen one yet. And knocking on wood, as they say, right? And that was pretty loud. Sorry.
No, it's good. We need the sound effects.
I know at one point you actually like pulled out your phone and playing like music and things like that because he was thinking about something.
Yeah.
Took him a little while, but then he was able to
Yeah,
get that.
I
So
found
we
it.
actually appreciate that. It gives a little impact to your argument, right? God. And you know, like we've been looking at that community out there. I know it's a pocket. Back in, I want to say like 2014, 2015, I was spending a little bit more time in Escondido. And I'm going back to your sense of community, the fact that people feel like a community. I had the chance to go to the Escondido swap meet where they still have like these community balls. And when I was there, it felt like people like knew each other. So there was a sense of connection, and the local bands, people were there to support them. Like you said, that's something that distinguishes Escondido, right, from some of the other cities in San Diego.
Yeah, Escondido has a lot of that community sense. There's a lot of events in Escondido that are small events that community, independent communities or neighborhoods put together. And those are always something that's interesting, fun, and it brings people together. I've been surprised that I walk through a park and I know someone. be it from my son's school or be it from a meeting or someone that I recognize that came to city council to express something that was important for them. Oh, and all of a sudden it gives us a chance to connect. And I think that's something wonderful that Escondido has. And I certainly hope that we never lose that.
And focusing on the arts, because you keep mentioning arts and, culture. What is the reason behind it? Why is Escondido so strong when it comes to the arts? We have Paco Pablos here, who's also very into the arts. He has these initiatives with you. What is the reason behind it? Do you have a local artists that are just there living there, or they moved there for that particular reason?
Well, I think when I first was elected, I began to notice the arts more and more in Escondido. We've had, ever since I lived in Escondido, the Center for the Arts. It's a gem, underutilized gem. It is top notch. We have great performers, 2 theaters, 1,500 one, the other 500. That's together with, we can use outside venues on the park. I mean, it is top notch. It's just really, we've had world premieres there that are now heading out to other parts of the world to continue. So there was already some kind of a foundation there for the arts itself. The city has an art commission, and they were focusing on developing a lot of murals in Escondido. So we decided to have right in downtown, it's called Alley Art. It's right off of Grand, which is right smack in the center of the city. And you can go and see the murals and hit with your phone the QR code and get the history, the background, the information on that. So you have all of that already going on in the city. And then we begin to discover, as that's going on, the local artists. Recently, there was a contest for the mayor's art. And it was just a local, some artists decided they wanted to do that. And I think there were close to 100 submissions. And that was awesome. Then one day, Paco Pablos makes an appointment to see the mayor. The mayor calls me and says, calls me, and I was in my office. Hey, Joe, why don't you come on over and meet Paco Pablos? So Paco and we met at that point, and he was talking about some interest that he had of developing art, but nationally. And it so happened that when I was in Mexico City to sign the MOUs with one of our sister cities, that it was the launch itself for the first ever digital art contest in Mexico at the Cámara de Diputados in Mexico City, the Congress. So I was there. So I had a chance to participate, to represent Escondido. Paco Pablos is one of our local artists. The art was going to be showcased once they were chosen in Escondido, and that was the event that you came to. So I represented the city at that moment, since I was already there. And recently it just concluded, and Paco's actually in Guadalajara right now promoting that event as it comes into a second year. And we certainly hope that we have a chance to showcase next year the winners. And what I would love to do is to have some of our own winners in Escondido and show their work in Mexico. So those are some of the binational events that are going on between Escondido and just kind of in general Mexico.
Super cool. I have a question a little different. And you're talking about this coming together of these Mexico cities, Mexican artists, and your city and artists from Escondido. What about because I have this conception, being from San Diego, maybe, of Escondido, like at some point being a bunch of like white ranchers, like big, pieces of land, very white, but now we have this, community within Escondido of largely Spanish speaking, immigrants or people from states like Oaxaca, Mexico. And so, just as a model for other places, how do those people come together and work, and what does that all look like, and how is it, transformed over the years based on what you see?
Well, that's probably a very complicated question and answer, right?
Intentionally.
A lot of peeling.
He's testing you, Joe.
A lot
He's
of
testing you.
peeling going on. Escondido has a colored past. It's a tough past that Escondido has. My children, when they worked in the White House and they said, "Oh, we're from Escondido," they knew who Escondido was. It wasn't because of good things. There were times where Escondido was in the news for decisions that had been made that were directly harming the immigrant community, the undocumented community, and those stopped. At that time, it created a shift where the Latinos began to desire to be elected, to be represented, to have a seat at the table, to say. And there began to be Hispanos elected to city council. And we continue with that now. Now we have, there are 4 of us that are of Latino descent on city council. And we all have different shades and ideas and how well we identify with and our own histories. That community, I believe, as a pastor, I've had the opportunity to be able to do funerals and weddings and quinceañeras and in the community itself in Escondido. I no longer pastor in Escondido, but I still get invited. Joe, will you do a quinceañera? Will you do a funeral? Will you do? And I think that's where you see the real community, because it'll be in an apartment complex parking lot where they're going to celebrate a wedding or they're going to celebrate a quinceañera, and the family comes together. And in our culture, people bring, and I remember a long time ago when I had started as a pastor, and somebody said, "Oh, esta fiesta, this party, is de traje." And I took it traje like, suit. The word Spanish, right? In my tie and stuff. And they kind of laughed at me. And I said, "Pastor, es de traje que traje yo algo. Traigo comidas. Traje. Es de traje." And I got it. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things that continue in Escondido, that brings that community together. That it's still that simple things. I have some friends. She runs a wonderful organization called Calisclan Baile Folclórico. And she put together an event, went up to the ranchos in Valley Center and put together this event, the Huapango, and brought some professional dancers from the states that represent that type of dance. And she had, I would say, about 1,000 people just show up, and she got sponsors, and everybody was having fun and music and dancing and a contest, and it was all family, not blood family, but there was that family connection, and that continues in Escondido, and I think that's very unique to our community.
Amazing.
Love that. Yeah, I think definitely community is the way to go. But yeah, Joe, I think everything that we heard for you today, I think it's just amazing. Just the fact that you're doing things for the community, maybe not what people want to hear, but the fact that you're taking action and taking decisions in the best interest of your community. Right.
So what's going on now for you? You got your 2 churches. You're doing that. You got these kids doing great things. You're on the council, deputy mayor. What's next for you?
Well, 2026, it's a year of election for me. So I'm running for re-election to my seat in District 2. So that's off and running as we continue to look for ways to make Escondido a better place for our community, a better place for business, a better place for the arts. I requested that we have a Sister Cities subcommittee, and we had our very first meeting yesterday. Wonderful, healthy dialogue with one of my council members, colleagues. And now we're trying to take the policy that I wrote and now clean it up, fix it. Now we've been in this for a little over a year. And now we say, okay, these are the changes that need to happen. We need more clarity here. We need to strike this. We need to move that. And all of those things just keep bringing up, we can make something better. We can make something better. Better community events, better organized, bigger cultural events. I brought to the table the discussion of binational events. Escondido, I think, is poised where we can begin to host these binational events. In fact, I just got invited by the San Diego Chamber of Commerce to go to Washington, D.C. to begin to discuss our region in general. And I was very excited to receive the invitation and to accept that and be able to participate next month on that. And I'll be talking specifically about immigration reform, which I believe is something that is what we need to work on in order to be able to get past what's going on currently. But for me, I now continue in the ministry, continue working my job after 35 years. I'll continue doing that. But it's re-election time, and we're out there and doing what we need to do and representing the community in ways that I believe we should do.
Now, if we have listeners, maybe they're stakeholders in Escondido, maybe not. Maybe they just listen and say, "Man, I like this guy because he talks about sitting down, having conversations, building dialogue, building community, building consensus. Seems like a good leader." So if they want to support your campaign, like where can they, is it online? Is there a way they can donate online or support your campaign online?
Well, thank you for that. That's very, very, I appreciate that. Yeah, you can go online to joeforescondido.com. Joe for Escondido, and it's the letters FOR, joeforescondido.com. And yeah, you can do that. You can, or you can write to me. I'll give you my personal email, not my city email, but my personal email is really easy. Pastor, like Pastor Garcia, all one word, Pastor Garcia 777, right? Not 666. All right. And that's my big joke when I say my email, Pastor Garcia 777 at gmail.com, and reach out, send me an email and we can connect. I hang out at different places for coffee, and there we go. I'd be happy to do that.
And you also have, I think, a good social media presence. I think last time you were saying maybe like your wife's good at pushing you on that. So if people want to follow you on Instagram, like what's your handle?
Councilmember Joe Garcia. You'll be able to find me there in the different social platforms and connect. And yeah, there's my wife is very good at that, and she has taken me from 2 or 3 likes to a few more than that.
That's what you need, especially when you want to make Escondido an economic engine for North County.
Absolutely.
And so, if we're lawyers, we always are looking to help. Escondido sounds like and from our time there has been a cool community. How can professionals that want to get out there and help your constituents, how can they get involved? What advice would you give?
Well, if you're from Escondido, one of the best things that you can do is get on one of the commissions. Because as you get on one of the commissions in the city, you begin to have a voice. You begin to be able to explore. You begin to be able to share what's going on in Escondido. That's one way. Another thing that I talk to, and specifically I talk to pastors a lot about this, build relationships with those that are elected. And when you begin to build those relationships, then you see a phone call and you're excited to take it. Doesn't mean you agree, but you take the call because there's a relationship there. And I believe that we need to be able to have that dialogue and push each other. Don't just sit down with somebody you agree with. Sit with somebody that you disagree with too, so you both can grow. So get involved, build the relationships, invest in Escondido. We have Japan. I had a delegation come see me to discuss baseball between kids. Just a very simple, an idea. But we also have other areas of Japan investing almost $100 million into the mall in Escondido. So when you're having these dialogues, when you're investing in the community, when you're investing time in the community, you get to know the community in a way that you come in and you share with us and we say, oh, wow, I hadn't thought about that. That's a great idea. We should do that. El Grito was born out of somebody saying, we should do this. And sounded like a great idea. So now we've gotten to the point where we need now more of an official organization. And that's what we're working on. Now we're beginning to have discussions so we can do that. So get involved, spend time, invest your money, build a business there, live in Escondido, build relationships, be part of the community, and you will make a difference. And it'll be a blessing not only for you, but for the community, for your family too.
And I feel like even for those outsiders like ourselves, actually driving up there, visit wineries, visit downtown, and like the mall. I mean, I saw that you guys are doing like pretty good things out there. It seems like it's in renovation, remodeling. So good luck with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So here's a hypothetical. It's we're coming up on like high school football season, and they have like a little round robin, game. Like back when I play, we had this little preseason thing. I think you would play like a half. I forget what they called it. But say you had like Escondido, San Pascual, Orange Glen. They all play each other in a round robin. Who are you rooting for? Who's your team?
Well, that's like when as a church pastor, I've been in that with soccer games, and they'll say, "Pastor, ¿a quién le va?" Who you're rooting for, right? And I'll always say it's the church that I'm currently at. So when I was in Escondido, and now it's the churches that I'm at now. But it would be Escondido, of course. I mean, I love my community. It would be Escondido all the way.
Escondido all the way. All right. So, wrapping up, if you were able to write in the sky, like with clouds, for all the world to see, something that you wanted people to read and to reflect upon, your words, of guidance for the world that you have up in the sky, what would you write?
Follow the golden rule.
Follow the golden rule.
Follow the golden rule. And then if you don't know what it is, go look it up, right? Go look it up so you can understand what that is. And I believe that if we all do that, it would be a different world in which we live.
I love it. I agree. It's a lesson that we often return to in our little weekly Bible studies here. There's a lot of talk of that kind of thing. So if you don't know it, look up the golden rule. That way it will stick with you guys, and then you can do a little work on it. But as always, great privilege to see you. You always bring such joy and energy and vitality, to everything that you do. I think that comes from, probably your faith, like it's just, so vibrant in you. It just comes out, and you have such a love for the people and the issues in your community and life. That's nice to see. So thank you for spending your time with us.
Thank you for the invitation. This has been great. Thank you both.
No, thank you for being here.
Awesome. So that wraps this episode of the Lawtino. If you like us, if you like what you heard, if you like the episode, please give us a thumbs up, follow us, share us. We want to get the word out. And don't forget to support. What was the website?
Joe for Escondido.
Joe for Escondido. It's that easy. joeforescondido.com. Our deputy mayor, community leader, is a great, guy to have out there, leading the charge for a growing and dynamic and vibrant community and all of its members. So thank you again. This concludes this episode of the Lawtino Podcast.